What's up, guys? Top of the morning to you. So Pete Canaris here with Green Dreams. We're in Central Florida, just north of Tampa and Port Richey, and today's feature is going to be Jim Kovaleski, my mentor and one of our famous farmers, who is actually a nomadic farmer, farming half his year in Florida, the other half a year in Maine, and he just came back down to Florida, and we're in August from his Maine farming adventure through the summer. Obviously gets a little bit too cold there in the winter time to farm, so comes back down to Florida and grows mostly all of those same crops down here, other than some of those root crops that need those colder soils. So Jim has been doing this now, I'd say, for about 10 years, and he got me inspired to do, farming maybe about 8 years ago, and I've been following his footsteps ever since. So go find Jim, see what's growing on, see what he brought back from Maine. I know he brought some blueberries this year. I know he brought some squash, and I think he brought something else. I'm not sure. Let's go see.
Morning, Pete.
Hey, Jim. What's growing on?
Hey, back in Florida.
Home sweet home, huh?
Home sweet, it's so hot, but yeah, it is. I'm feeling energized.
You didn't miss the humidity?
No, it's 20 up there. Lucky I put the greenhouses up.
Ooh, okay. You did some new and exciting stuff in Maine this year, huh?
Yeah, it was a good year there. Learned a lot and ready for next year.
So I unfortunately couldn't make it to Maine this year, but you did some exciting stuff with kind of inside the greenhouse, right? You want to...
Well, I just started, thinking I needed to extend the, season because, we don't get tomatoes until September. You can plant them in June. They don't grow until mid-July. So if I can get a jump on that in the spring, and then I did one with a sheet mulch in it. I called it a grass-fed greenhouse, and put a lot of cold seeds and stuff in there. And Alexandria is taking stuff to market still. And it's been in the 20s.
Grass-fed greenhouse?
You know it.
Whoa. Okay, that's a new technique.
Yeah, I was thinking, I talked to Mark a little about it, but, I think I'm going to get different results. I don't know if they're actually going to hold on to the heat in the soil more, because greenhouses are open soil, so I think it loses heat. But, there'll be some pest issues probably or something, but I want to try it.
All right, I'm going to have to get back up to Maine next year and catch this new technique.
Sure, you can stay in the greenhouse.
All right, that sounds warm. So what's growing on here? What'd you come home to this year?
A lot of sweet potato coverage. It was great. Very few weeds. So I got, I probably got half out right now. Average yield, probably, each area I'm getting probably 200 to 300 pounds of usable potatoes and probably that many that I have to compost. So, and, starting to mulch again, that's the first load of mulch. And so I'll mulch and plant all the way across.
So right where the dark hits the light, that's the old to the new? What you've added?
Yeah, and it's only 2 inches, and it's really shreddy mulch this year. I think because there wasn't as much moisture, so it didn't get as broken down. But that works really good for a mulch. And then as I put it down, I water it. I think that's an important thing, to push the fines down, and then it becomes like a wet blanket on these soils that tend to dry out so much. And then it's been a drought, I guess, since last 6 weeks, I guess.
So Jim, I know I'm going to get the question, how much fertilizer, how much compost, what kind of amendments are you doing here in this process?
You're seeing it. That is it. Twice a year, 2 to 3 inches of Port Richey, compost, which is 3/4 finish, very woody debris. But I think it's really a mixed, diverse compilation that allows a lot of different microorganisms and macroorganisms to live and feed the soil. And I'm seeing, I need to feed them, because over there, I decided on the far side, I usually don't plant till March, so I went ahead and planted that without mulching it. And what's happened is a lot of the things that came up have getting eaten, because they're not having their regular food. I'm really seeing this whole process of, the grass-fed stuff, the grass-fed vegetables, and then this is Port Richey fed vegetables that, the compost that, we're feeding a livestock, a microherd in the soil. And if you don't continue to feed them, they're going to find something to eat and then eventually go away.
So basically everything to your right looked like this just, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Jim?
I got back 2 weeks ago Saturday, so yeah, right at 2 weeks. It all looked like that all the way across. This path was totally covered. It was climbing up the walls. It's pretty overwhelming when you first get here, but I've learned to just plug away.
I saw it over there on Mom's front porch. Gonna be around her door handle before we know it.
Yeah.
Wow. So all the vines get composted. Potatoes go to market no matter ugly or pretty, right?
Well, I've learned over the years that there's some that are very ugly that will not keep. They'll start to rot almost immediately. So I've learned to just put them in the Port Richey compost pile and let them go. But I do a sort, so pretty and then pretty ugly.
Pretty ugly.
Yeah,
okay.
And then they go to market.
Nice.
And I've been to market already. I brought back a bunch of blueberries, some garlic, some potatoes. Not much garlic. So I already did Tasty Tuesday. It was nice seeing my friends there, and they kept that running. You know, I think they started up like 8 weeks after maybe 12 weeks after the pandemic hit.
So is this next week your second or third market back in Florida?
I already did my second one. This will be a third on
Third
Tuesday.
market already. Wow, that happened quick.
Nothing like it used to be, and I'm going to push for that because I was reading my 2017 journal, and I'd already gone to Tasty Tuesday, made like $800 on apples and squash and all that, and then I was set up to do a drop with Bree at Dunedin Harvest Co-op, then to Sweetwater. So you know, that was a busy year. So hopefully I'm going to get a trailer for the minivan and do that next year with a lot more, because we had so many onions and our winter squash. But they're eating it up there, so you know the family up there is happy with it.
So what do I see out here on the front wall? Is this a head start on this season, or is this the ones you've done?
This is the ones I've done.
Already? Okay.
You know, it's amazing. I think I got my soil block mix a lot better, you know, because I started a good compost pile again. You know, when I moved over here 3 years ago, I was kind of in a shuffle and I've never really caught up. But last year, underneath an oak tree, I started a really good compost pile. So that's my base compost for my soil block mix. And things are just, you know, thriving in that. You know, usually I'm at 8 days, or no, usually I'm at 12 days when I go from the minis to the big blocks. These are all done in 8. They're rocking so good. You know, I had roots out the bottom. So yeah, that's my first generation of planting. I did have, again, issues with lettuce germination. You know, all the brassicas popped up really good. But, you know, lettuces seemed like maybe 40-50%. And, you know, I remember the last year, you know, that it was so hot. I had them in the AC till they popped, but I went ahead and did another round and put them in the refrigerator overnight, and look at this. I mean, that's like awesome. I mean, that's 100% germination. Especially here, there are the lettuces, and over there, that was just the backup. So.
And this is from the same seed company?
Yep, same batch of everything.
So everybody asks, where does Jim buy his seeds? Johnny's and Fedco, correct?
Yeah, but good luck.
They're sold out, huh?
Well, there's a lot of things that I usually want and I can't get. Luckily, I put a pretty big order in March. And so that got me started. So yeah, I've got most of the stuff I really need. And then I'm going to start looking to save some of my own seeds. You know, Alexandra's got me doing that. And, you know, the nor'easter pole beans rocked, and we had a bunch, so she's saved a bunch of those.
I guess we can thank the pandemic for a few things here, huh? I mean, they've got us doing things different. That's for sure. You know, and it's amazing, you know, the number of people that want, you know, good food where they know it came from. And then the interest in how to do it themselves. I mean, I wish I could, you know, give people the experience of, you know, of 20 years of growing stuff that, you know, they could jump into it, but, you know, they're going to have to learn their own way and hopefully make some of the mistakes I made, and I can help them with the ones I made, and maybe they don't make all of them, but, you know, we just jump in with both feet and it'll work out. Little shameless plug, we do have a grass-fed market garden course with Jim. If you haven't taken it, that's kind of as close as you're going to get, you know? All right. Yeah, I had a guy here say that he was looking into it, but, you know, he's here in Florida and he's out in Carrollwood, and, you know, some of the stuff ain't the same, so what should I do? So I think he's going to come over and we're going to talk about it. But a lot of it's very similar. You know, the whole theory of feeding the soil, not seeing the soil as this chemical place where, you know, you got NPK and, you know, pH and all that. I mean, that's basically important, I guess, but if you take care of the organic matter in the soil life, that kind of balances. I've seen it again and again. It's just, you know, that's what I do, and it's successful. Whoa, what do we got going on here, Jim?
So that's something that's been in the background since I moved here. You know, I've got the pump and I've been hand watering all along, but there was an in-ground irrigation system here for the turf. And, you know, I've kind of put it off because I used to, you know, I'm used to watering by hand, but it's here and I'm seeing where it's probably limiting my growth during the summers, and fruit trees and turmeric and all that. So I stubbed it all up like that, and then I'm gonna look into what's gonna be the best way to, you know, irrigate this while I'm gone and maybe while I'm here. You know, maybe do some overhead here. I'm also gonna change it up and do a lot more flowers because my brother's coming and he's really into, you know, they did a lot of perennial gardens and his wife's into cut flowers, so I'm gonna do more cut flowers. I'm so far behind, but, you know, I've got a bunch started, and so around there'll be more curb appeal. I'm even looking into doing like a 6-foot bed out on the other side of the wall by the street. It will be all flowers. It's kind of like a good curb appeal. There's water out there, so you know, figuring out what's the best way to use that well water without me being present. So, you know, I looked into them wobblers, but I'm thinking with, you know, sidewalks and all that, they're probably not the best. So I'll probably go with impacts, overheads, and then drip, and maybe some small sprays in the flower beds.
So for those that haven't seen or heard in the last videos, you have a shallow, salty well, right?
Well, I'm considering, you get a hint of salt when you taste it, but it hasn't been any issue on any of the veggies that I've seen, except maybe the beans that don't do too well since I've been watering with them. But, all the Chenopodium species, the chard, the beets, the spinach, all have done much better since I started watering with well water. So yeah, and I don't know if that saltiness will be a problem, if I go with brass stuff, so I might want to, but I'm not seeing any staining on copper stuff, so it's got to be really low, the salt stuff. So I think it's just a good natural thing, and with the city water, I'm so glad I'm not using that, or what they take out of it and what they put into it, I don't know.
So I'm hearing some big game changers this year. We're talking irrigation, we're talking help, like production levels might go up a little, huh?
Oh, I'm going to push for that for sure. I'm seeing that we want to feed more people, and if I can show that, I've been a little lazy because I got in my ways that I plant here, then there, then there, and then there. But there's a lot of times when it's sitting fallow that I could be growing something if I was more organized, and I'm shooting for that this year. And with my brother, I think that'll help out. And I'm looking again long term for some kind of intern that we could let's stay over the summer just to keep a few weeds down. And I mean, that's all it would take, because there's a couple spots with weeds, but now there's 10,000 Bidens right there, just because one gall darn Biden started. And I know the permaculture people love them, but they can go out in the weedy fields and get them. They don't need to get them out of my garden. I was really surprised. I started planting stuff in case I was going to stay when that pandemic hit. So I put the eggplants, tomatoes, peppers in, and figured they'd be done when I got back. But I come back with no water. Last 6 weeks there hasn't been any rain. And that one's called Black Knight, and I think there's a couple pine tongues or whatever, them long ones in there. And they've come back, and I cut them back a little. New growth's popping big time. I did a little Thai hot pepper that went through the whole season. Victor's come and got that for Zen Forest Restaurant. Jimmy's been getting it. So that's another reason, if I had some irrigation, I think I would have, more to come back to if I planned it right. The same with the turmeric. I think I'd be, maxing out the turmeric. I mean, I did pretty good. I think they're going to be nice, but I think they'd be like twice as big with a little.
You want to show us a quick turmeric harvest? A little action, Jim?
Well, it's kind of early. I mean, I think I've always pushed it too much, but we can pull one just to see what it looks like.
So you don't harvest until they completely lay down?
It's better for them to store because, see, there's just a few hands. Mark would have pulled that and but they're still putting on growth. I think they're a lot going. They'll put on a little more growth and then they'll die back because, when you try to save that, a lot of times you get rot there, if you just let it sit, so.
So what an easy crop for you. I mean, you literally plant a small root before you go. You don't touch it for 6-8 months?
Right. No, 5 months.
5 months?
Right before I go in 5 months. So, and then you just dig it up. And, and you wouldn't believe when I dig it up how many roots are in this worms are in this root zone. It's like they concentrate worms. I've noticed that year after year after year. So I think it's an improving soil technique too. Along with, I've seen sweet potatoes. I think that improves the soil even though I'm not getting the big yields. There's not much of the Newport Richey compost left here, and I put 2 inches really good. You're down to good soil really quickly, But then that's in there too. But some of this stuff is just already starting to, break down. So I think, people overestimate the reason you need to get just that fine, perfect, they want just that. But I think that intermix of the woody debris with that is really awesome. And the other game changer that I was telling you is I've got a good compost pile this year. So, I can show you that. And then I got my dirt buddy out.
Can't even find these things anymore, can you?
They sold the company to somebody else and they doubled the price.
Oh, wow.
So that's like $900 now. I think I got it for $400 because I wanted to get a smaller screen and I was looking for it. And they want like $80 for 2 screens. So I'm not going to do that. But here's the compost pile. Just turn it on. So a wheelbarrow would go under there, right?
Right underneath it.
And then you just throw that on there. And the big stuff rolls off the end. And the wheelbarrow gets pulled up.
How long have you had that thing, Jim?
25 years.
Wow.
Still the same motor, Mikey had it for a while. He was sifting it for his microgreens compost.
What did you do with this when you were a standard landscaper?
What did I do with this?
Yeah, what was it used for back then?
Well, way back when I was, I found the new Port Richey compost 25 years ago, and I was working at, I was doing a big landscape for a client out in Odessa, and I was getting a new Port Richey compost and then sifting it, right? So it turns into fines, and then using that. So it's, because that's what people want. But what I found is the new Port Richey compost, if you get it down to fines, acts like peat moss once it dries out, and is hydrophobic, and it repels water. Whereas this stuff is not that. Finished compost isn't that way. Every bit of brassica top, lettuce top, all that stuff last spring. Okay. No, yeah, fall. No, spring. Yeah, spring when I'm leaving. Got piled here and started. You know how it stinks that, the brassicas when they start to go? And I'll throw a little bit of new Port Richey compost on top of that to minimize that. And, 5 months later, it's totally broken down.
So no crazy turning,
No.
Okay.
Compost happens. I mean, look at that.
It's alive.
Yeah, and usually when I dig into it, there's a lot of red wigglers, or no, gray wigglers they are. But I haven't seen a lot of them today. But yeah, it's wonderful stuff. And I think that's a game changer for me with my soil blocks. I really do, because if you can start with a kick-ass plant and put it in kick-ass soil, you got kick-ass harvest. And I've seen over the years when I've lost it here, I'm putting poor plants in. They take a while to get started, and I still do really good. But if you can jump on it and go really fast right away, that's what the Kaisers do out in Sebastopol. I mean, they're getting 8-9 harvests a year because they're doing that. And I'm going to look more towards that to let them do more and more seedlings, because you got to wait when you direct seed, like I'm waiting out here.
Yeah.
Well, over the years, I learned that most of my weeds came from my hardscapes, my path and my driveway, the shell driveway. So, I don't know, 5 years ago I decided to cover just like nurseries, just like you do in your nursery, and bought the cloth and cover. It's worked really well, but it's finally starting to wear out. I don't know why this area just tore. Maybe people are driving in here to turn around. But anyway, in the next week I'm going to pull all this up and it'll be, clean underneath. And a few weed seeds. That's the thing. Even if you get it cleaned up, once the weeds are here, you've always got the weed seeds coming back. But this way they're not seeding here, so there's a less, seed bank in the mulch or in the driveway that's going to jump into the beds. And the same thing with that, keeping that covered with sweet potatoes. I've learned a lot with that. There's hardly any weed pressure. And even when it's here, because I don't know if you notice over here, we can walk over here. So we got, everybody complains about nutsedge, torpedo grass, and Bermuda grass, right?
Those are pretty big ones.
Yeah, and so, I had this clean. I had Tony mows the edge, and a little bit of Bermuda has crept in there, right? And people, you'll never get rid of that. But, because it's crept through the really loose soil, that all I do is take a fork and move along with it, and it pulls up one bit. I can always get back to where the new shoot's coming out. So this wasn't even very bad, but that whole area looked just like it. I spent a half hour there, and here's one I missed. But, if I dig that with a fork, I'll trace that back, and it will not, be there until next year when they start creeping in again.
So that's the real key, not yanking it out, but coming back with the proper tool and chasing it down to the root. Yeah.
And I've done that with the nutsedge. You can never totally get it, but, the thing is, so I went through and got any nutsedge that crept in here, but here's one I missed. But I think it's great because it tells you where it is, right? So there, and it's funny, they always want to go into the wood chip. And that's the other thing I've seen about veggies. People don't want this in their soil, but I pull onions again and again, and the roots are inside this. So they're looking for stuff in it instead of, saying, we got to get it out of there.
So just 2 weeks ago, this entire bed was sweet potatoes.
Yep.
Okay. Have you planted this one yet?
Nope, I'm gonna actually mulch this because like I was telling you earlier that I'm seeing that, new plants that come into this soil that doesn't have any anything to eat for the microherd, they'll start eating my plants. So you'll see that over here. So I pretty much direct sowed all this just because I wanted to get going on it. And I see the turnips very thick, but look at how, they just kept getting eaten down. See, there's one getting eaten too, but look at the soil life in here. You move it around and it's just crawling with bugs, which is all good. They're pooping, but if they don't have something to eat, they're gonna eat some other stuff. And so, you know, they haven't been on the carrots, so that's one good thing. That's a big crop for me. So I decided to double plant my rows. So I used to do the, you know, the little, what does that call that? You know, that little carrot planter?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that and usually did it 4 rows, so, you know, inch apart, 4 rows, and then, you know, many feet. This time I did it side by side, so there's 8 rows. And so right here there is 5,000 carrots.
Wow.
Just there.
Did you amend this area with compost already?
No.
Okay.
That's the thing I didn't do here. That's why I said over there, over the years I haven't had any problems with bugs eating my crop if I did the, you know, the new Port Richey compost first. So I think that was the issue here, but you know, I went ahead and did it because I wanted to get rocking, because Jimmy had given me some seedlings too, and you know, they ain't doing all that well either, because they're, again, you know, the pests, whatever, if we want to call them pests, the insects search for plants that are suffering and they take them out of the population. So I got some, you know, pretty piss poor seedlings, put them in, and they took them out. You know, so I'm hoping my next planting I'll bring my really good composted ones in and get them in here. And then when this is done in, you know, probably 1st of January, if we get a frost, because I got most of the tender stuff in here too, I'll go ahead and mulch it and then get ready to plant. You know, as you shift things up, you learn, or things become more evident. The other issue here is I've never planted this until, you know, March, you know, maybe, you know, end of February. And the pecan tree had dropped all its leaves, right? But now it's got half its leaves on it still, so they're dropping on the bed, smothering stuff. You know, so you learn about your property or your land as you work with it and change things up.
Oh, what about that mutated beast, huh?
That's an old one. That's self-sown. Seeded itself, I think, 6 years ago, and I kept cutting it back, and it's finally going to succumb to age. But you know, I've been seeing papayas are a good crop for me because they're usually fruiting when I'm here. So I went ahead and did, you know, that's self-sown. The ones right next to it, they just came up. I see there's a male, and I'm going to cut that one out. But I also planted like maybe 10 around the area, especially on the back side where it's not going to shade anything. So I'm going to do more papayas back there. I'm also going to do a lot more trellising for tomatoes, because I saw how good that worked in the greenhouse. And I'm going to, you know, try some sugar snap peas this year. I've always not done those because it always seems too hot, but what the heck. I was excited about Elliot Coleman's method, using wood posts, but you know, I'm finding I can't find any cedar, you know, and I'm not going to use pressure treated. So Mark Fulford used 20-foot pieces of rebar, and I went, how? You know, and he bends them so they're 6 or 7 foot upright, 6 foot across, and then you pound them in the ground, you know, 2 feet or so you got 5 foot high trellises, and they're forever. I'm going to try that to see visually how it works, because you know, rebar could be a little ugly, but I want to do that to, you know, if you go up, you've got a lot more potential space in a small garden, so maximize the space here, and crops, you know. So maybe even try some cucumbers, stringing them up.
Pushing the edge this year, Jim. I like it. Got to be evolving.
Yeah, I'm gonna come get some fruit trees from you.
All right.
I finally decided, you know, I've seen the ones that, you know, are good for me. You know, there's so many fruit trees, but you know, I see avocado's a really good fruit tree, even though you could lose them to the disease. Maybe a couple more star fruit, and I want to try persimmons again, planting them right, because I see how good Cindy Cadle up at Cadle Coal Farm. I mean, she's rocking it with persimmons now. So
I bought some from her at market 2 weeks ago, and they were just delicious.
They're delicious, and then her mushrooms have rocked. So that's the thing, when you get into this, you start doing things, and you know, slowly it accumulates what you've got. You know, that avocado was planted, God, I'm surprised it's as small as it is, but I mean, it's giving me good avocados, and that's 20 years ago. So I've been doing it, you know, kind of looking in this direction since 2007, I'd say. So we're looking at what,
13 good years?
13 years, yeah.
Okay.
So when they say the best time to plant a tree is, you know, today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it 13 years ago. So I'm going to look at that, and, you know, I tried a lot of different stuff. There was like, you know, 6 citrus here, you know, and they all succumb to the, you know, the greening, but it seems like the greening might be passing us by, so it might be worth trying some. What else did I lose? You know, I'm not impressed with the peaches, or the plums are all right, but the peaches seem to get so buggy here.
Not enough chill, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I'm, you know, the fruit fly, but I'm going to buy some bags this year, and what the heck, and try it. You know, bagging them like they do in the Orient. So, Figs I like, but I just don't get enough crop on them. I'm leaving about the right time. Moringa, you know, it's a good tree because I talked to my buddy Ben, and he said...
Let's pan over there, Jim. Oh, the Moringa. Everybody likes to talk about this tree. We've had thousands of comments on this.
Well, it's a wonderful tree, but don't count on it as a beautiful avenue tree because they are fast growing and weak. I don't know if you can see there's a busted limb up there already because these pods get so heavy. I mean, look at it, just busted it out. But my friend Ben had gone to the doctor, and he's my age, starting to get a little older, and he said, "Oh, your cholesterol's too high, and I want to put you on statins." And Ben says, No, let me try this. So he had some Moringa. He went ahead and powdered it, put it in capsules, started taking it. 4 months later, his cholesterol had gone down 50 points. And that's the only thing he did different.
Oh.
So I'm going to try that. So, it has a place, but definitely not mass planting. Unless you find a market with like an Indian store, because I guess they'll pay $3 or $4 a pound for the right size drumsticks.
The pods, yeah, that's a delicacy. But
you've got to have, the market, and that's all this stuff. People, you can grow too much and it isn't valuable because you can't get rid of it. I imagine you're starting to feel that with all the fruit.
So in the past, Jim, you had dehydrated and ground up, maybe powdered the Moringa a little bit. Have you sold it at all that way?
I did. I was selling that at Sweetwater, for like, I don't know, $16 a pound or something like that in like jars. I did it. But I am going to start saving this, and all I've done lately is just hang it until it gets crispy in my front porch and then put it in a bag, crush it up. I don't, I get most of the stems out, and then Alexandra will make tea out of it. So I'm going to mix that with the Roselle. So I've got 2 crops that I can bring to her to add to her tea blends that are medicinal.
So these will be going up north to become blends.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be shipping stuff back and forth quite a bit. I'm buying a trailer for the van next year so I can bring some garlic back, because I told you I didn't bring any back because I planted it all. So I put in probably 5,000 heads. So hopefully I'll be able to bring back like 3,000.
Be sitting strong on garlic next year.
Right. So you got to plan ahead there with that kind of crop, And I actually it paid back because where I got most of those heads was Lamb Cove, where you came up and filmed, 3 years ago. Those garlic heads had gone to bulbils. They produced the little teeny garlic heads that fell on the ground, right? And they fell so close to each other, it was like grass. So there was full-grown heads that big, right? So the size of a marble that had 6-8 cloves in them. So I clove those out and planted them, giving them space, hoping to get big garlic next year. And I think I will. And that'll prove whether you have to use the huge garlic as seed garlic or if you can just use any garlic on good ground. That's what I'm thinking.
Nice. Well, Jim, any room in that trailer maybe for apples?
I was reading my journal from 2017 and there was a lot of apples. And yeah, that's a possibility. I might even do a run this fall.
Just for apples?
Just to go visit. And then I could bring just apples back. Yeah, I'll work that in probably for next year anyway, for sure. I don't know if Mark will have any apples left. And we ordered an apple press, but everything was so in demand that back ordered, so it's not going to get here until November 15th. But next year we'll be bringing a lot of cider to market. Because there's so many trees. I still know all those trees up there.
All right, we need that trailer.
Yeah, help me. 5x8.
All right.
Very lightweight. Very lightweight. Yeah, aluminum all around.
Okay. All right, Jim. Well, we will be back for a follow-up within the next 30 days or so. So stay tuned.
Show up at market.
Keep pounding that dirt.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Really wanted to get up to Maine to see Jim this year. Unfortunately, with the whole COVID situation, that did not work out. A lot of fears with everything that was going on in Florida, possibly bringing the virus up. Also, Jim had a kind of a new site going on, new development, so didn't work out. Hopefully that's in the plans again for next year. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick follow-up. I'm going to try to get back here on a monthly basis. If you guys want a more in-depth, what Jim's doing, how you can do this on your own yard, like I mentioned earlier, we have a course with Jim. We just put like another 100 hours into that course, redoing it, making it better, constantly adding to it. So check that out. Link will be in the description down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see more of this footage, be sure to hit that subscribe button, pound that bell to stay notified. Most importantly, you guys know what we do around here? Pound dirt. Stay tuned.